Hello everyone, it's Boss, and today we're going to be showcasing off the new deck. I'm going to be on this format. As you can already see, there's a little stinky little card in the side deck that I'll show off later. Um, and first off, we're going to start off with our main deck monsters. It's Voiceless, and we play 3 low. She is our main starter. We like her very much because she's a one card combo, and if we see her or we see more one copy than her, it also allows us to go into plays through troll and such, and plays through more non-engine. Then our next is Saphira. We play 3 of this card. You don't play anything less than 3. If you play any less than 3, you're just wrong. Saphira, before we get the new ritual and legacy and the new continuous spell, our plays are going to be kind of more on our turn rather than our opponent's. However, she allows us to discard and dump the ritual spell directly from the deck, and she can banish herself from the graveyard to basically become a ritual spell. And the ritual spell does not need to be engraved for the activation. She just needs to be in the graveyard to do it. And 2, what you can do is essentially you can always loop her with the new support. Of course, we don't have it yet, so we don't have the ability to loop our resources more refinedly. And the other thing is Saphira really keeps the whole deck together. Also, it can add from grave. So if you ritual summon beforehand and like you search this card and they put you under draw, let's say you discarded Ceravis or use a Ceravis as ritual material for Skull Guardian, you can add back the Ceravis from grave with this. So she also helps us recur resources. Then the last monster we play that is part of the Voiceless monsters is Ceravis Dragon Sage. I just call him Dragon Sage for short. When we get the new Saphira ritual, you can just call her Saf, Saflo, Dragon Sage. That's what I usually call them. Just quick little nicknames because they have very long names. And the next thing is our Skull Guardians. We play 2. We only play 4 rituals in the deck when the and one on the side. When we see the new Saphira monster, it's going to be 5, and then 1 on the side maybe. And then you play 2 Ceravis. These are German copies because I love my Euro copies, but basically, Skull Guardian is the Omni Negate, and also on summon is a Rhoda for the deck, or the main searcher for a deck. And Ceravis is an on-field inherent summon negate, almost like a Solemn Warning. And also is targeting protection for monsters, so it's pretty nice. And you can always recur them back from grave or hand. And remember, this guy bounces itself back to hand for cost, so it's very important because sometimes people will try to imperm. It's like, no, it's back in my hand already. Then other engine that we play is our Diviner package. We play 3 Diviner, of course, because she's also a starter. Also is a 1-card starter to get us our full board. So it's really nice when you see her with like 2 non-engine, and then you also play Trias Harakia. Remember, this tributes for cost, so if they ever try to Bell or DD Crow this from being summoned, that's fine, but it still tributes as cost, so we'll still be able to get our Diviner summon from deck. Then for our Voiceless spells and traps, we play 2 Prayer, just 2 of the ritual. It's nice to see this in the hand, but also sometimes it's really not. Your ritual would be like some other card in the archetype. Really, the key to this deck is managing your resources and spells. Specifically, making sure that you're managing your barriers and your trap, because you only play 1 of this card. Because it's kind of bad to see multiples of this card, only for the fact of 1 is searchable, and with the new support, it becomes reusable, so you only need to play 1 right now. When right now, before Legacy, if people start like really understanding how this deck works by prioritizing this and just keeping all their interruption and non-engine for this, and especially people are going to start mining Cosmic because of just how good Fire Kings are, that is when we need to maybe main deck the Pendulum Graph and end on that instead, and have setup lines to go into Skull Guardian on our opponent's turn. which if they have two hand traps is very hard to do, but it's the best that we can do. And so our main search ability cards is Prosby. Pot of Prosperity is just generically good. If you're playing Extrav, that's fine. But Pot of Prosperity is super available now. I know if you don't really have all the extra cards for Prosperity, I don't actually. I have a few, but I don't have it all. Extrav is just better, so if you don't have SP, don't worry about it. You can just play 3 Dynamondo, 3 Herald of Arclight, 2 Natis, and Extrav. You'll be fine. So Prosperity is just good because you can dig for hand traps. So let's say your opponent is kind of telegraphing that they have Droll in their hand. You just go search for Droll, and then they can't really do anything for the next turn because their deck probably can't play through Droll. And so for the other main searchers, I play 2 pre-prep. 3 is good, 2 is fine, 1 is also okay. It doesn't really matter. It just, as long as you're okay with just having this kind of card in your hand, it can help you play through Droll, but it also can help you play right into it. So you have to be prepared on how to do it, or like how to use it properly to play through Droll. And then we have 1 for 1. It's a pretty nice card. Gets us to 1-card starters. I haven't really seen the need for this card yet, but it may come up in like the grind game or something. Maybe to just constantly have 2 lows in rotation, 1 on field, 1 in graveyard. It can help, but the deck list is at 42, and if anything, it would go down to 41, and this would be the first card I'd cut. And then now we can go on to non-engine. So non-engine, this deck has a ton of space for it, but I like to keep a ratio of about 9 hand traps and 7 board breakers almost, and also stuff that we can just use on our opponent's turn. So we have cards like Droll, the best card in the format, in my opinion. It just shuts off so many decks. Really shouldn't be, in my opinion, if you're not running this card. I think you're trolling a little bit, but that's fine. You have 3 Ash. Even though this card is super low impact, it's nice to have for especially lab matchups or rogue matchups. If they're playing Fire Kings and you discard this card, it can lead for them to just have a free princess on field, because then they can just go to Hida and then make a Promethean princess. But to be honest, we run that risk because we have to, because it's a generically good card. Even though it may not be super good this format, we just have to run it to stop other matchups. And now for the final hand traps, we play just Imperm. Imperm is super good this format. It can be used to break your opponent's board on your turn, or it can just be used to disrupt it. It's really better if you use it going second against your opponent. It's also really good just setting it, especially for something that they can't really get rid of with like Fire King Avatar Kieran, or if you imperm the Garunix or you imperm the Snake Eye Ash, they usually just pass off of that because they can't get to the 1-card combo. They have to invest more. If you have exactly imperm the Ash, and then if they already have the normal original Snake Eye spell in hand and they attempt to send that and then you Ash, they're usually passing off of that. So if you literally see Imperm Ash, you're passing. If you see Imperm Droll against Fire King, they're usually passing. You just gotta Imperm the Snake Eye Ash, and if they keep on playing and they search something, you go Droll, and then they're just like, okay, well, I guess you wanted it more. Then you play 2 Talents. Talents is really good this format because it's non-targeting. It's also it's a hand rip, it's a steal, it's a draw 2. It's just super good this format, and 9 times out of 10 your opponent will be playing on your turn, especially in the main phase, because of Karen and also, you know, Promethean Princess Engrave. It's just insane. Then you play triple Super Poly. Now, running this card in the main, I have seen a decent amount of success with it. The thing is when you go up against a shifter deck like Cash is actually a very hard matchup for this deck, because if they know what they're doing by banishing your spells and traps in the back row, such as the Voiceless spells and traps, I mean, your grind kind of comes to a halt and it's really hard to do anything. However, it is a very, very good card to have, especially against Fire Kings, so you can just super poly their whole board, and then they're just kind of screwed. Especially when they go Flame Birch, summon IP back from the Spell and Trap Zone. You could just make the Earth Adagnister, which is coming in the mail, unfortunately, but I do have some other super poly targets to keep it even, I guess. And then the last card we play is Called By. Called By is just super good this format. That rounds it out to about 42. And then now we can go on to the extra deck. Then we'll go off to the side deck. So the extra deck, we play one Typhon because we have to. It's just a generically good card. It's a extra deck staple. Like the SP Little Knight, another extra deck staple. You play Anima, Link Rebo. I swear to God, this card right here, Link Rebo, is probably going to get banned because of how much Snake Eye Fire King can abuse it. Then we play one BLS. This is honestly just a flex spot. Also, I have the ulti, so I just wanted the flex. It is really good into the lab matchup because what you can do, they can't target it or destroy it. So what you do is you just attack over something and boost it to 45. They can't out it, especially if it's the only thing you summon from your extra deck that turn. So they can't Typhon it away. So it just kind of destroys the lab matchup. Then our main cards that we usually go into from the extra deck, 2 Dynamundo. You really ever go into 1, and you don't really want to do this play because a lot of people are on DD Crow and Ghost Bell, because that is really heavy into the format. It's really safe to play it like in game 1 at a locals, but you usually want to use this as like a board breaker because it's just super generically good as a board breaker. However, since it shuffles something back to do board breaker plays, it also is super vulnerable to Ghost Bell, which is running around. Then we play 2 Heralds. We just play 2 Herald because it's a fairy. We can send off a Diviner if we ever want to. We never really make it. It's just to be dumped from the extra deck to the grave. And then same thing with Natis. We just play 1 of her. If you're playing Prosp, I feel like this you only need 1 of her. If you play Extra, if you need 2 of her. You need 2 of Heralds, 2 of Natis, 2 of Dynamundo. And yeah, that's about all you need. If you could afford a second SP, that'd be pretty good. But I wouldn't because Dynamundo kind of facilitates the same thing. You just never go into them. So I would just replace the an SP with a Dynamundo if your budget. But this deck is like $400 or $450, so I don't know how budget it's gonna be. So we play one Gearfried. We play 1 Draco. This one is supposed to be the Earth Adagnister. I'm waiting on it. We play 1 Draco Stapelia. We play 1 Mud Dragon, and we play 1 Garua. The reason why we play Dragon Stapelia is because one of the deck's hardest matchups is Branded. Because Branded's seeing play because it's a troll format and they don't really add and they can play through stuff. It's good to just have this to use like a Guardian Chimera on their field and something else and stop their plays, especially because a normal summon Albaz literally breaks our entire board. It's very much a bad matchup, and it's very difficult to beat. And so we just play Garou and Mad Dragon because those are the 2 that usually get summoned anyways. And then now we can go on to the side deck. So to start off the side deck, we will go off to 3 DD Crow. The reasoning of playing DD Crow over Ghost Bell is because Ghost Bell plays pretty nicely into this format. However, it allows them just to use the same card on their turn or the following turn when DD Crow just gets rid of it and also shuts off similar amounts of interaction. That's why we play 3 of it in the side. Also, if you're playing the Dogmatica version of this deck, it is searchable, which is pretty neat, and also might be the reason why you would want to switch over to the Dogmatica stuff, even though it loses harder to draw. We play 2 Phantasme. I know the ugly gold rares. I put those out on purpose because I want to blind my opponents with how ugly they are. The reason why we play Phantasme is because there's so many links in the format, especially IP or Promethean Princess or Ambler Whale, where we can summon this out and it's just free real estate almost. We can just completely draw enough cards to just out the opponent's board. I mean, what's better than 6 cards than 8 or 7 in the starting hand, and you just have more ways to break boards and play through them. Then, of course, we play triple evenly matched. If you don't believe this card is good right now, I don't know what to tell you. I would play this way over Lightning Storm and everything else in the format because it's in the battle phase, because it's non-destructive, and because it basically forces your opponent to play a very restrictive game. I feel like it's an incredibly well better card than Lightning Storm. Although if a Fire King Snake Eyes player was, thinking and expecting that a board wipe was in the midst, what they could do is just sit on non-engine in their hand, and instead of Flamebird summoning back something to their side, or like putting something in the spell and trap zone on their side of the field, if you discarded the hand trap, they can put it in your spell and trap zone, and then you can't activate evenly or Lightning Storm, so that's why it's kind of iffy. The next thing is there's triple Cosmic Cyclone. We play Cosmic Cyclone because it's such a good card this format. It's, if not one of the best. It's almost mateable at this point, and I feel like is a very good indicator that this format is like a hybrid format, which are the best kind of where you can run hand traps and board breakers in the main and still do okay. And then we play one Harpy's Feather Duster. The only reason why we don't play Lightning Storm over Harpy is because Harpy is just spells and traps, doesn't require anything on the board. And you just activate it, and your opponent's just like, all right, well, I guess I lose. And especially that's even further the case with just how good it is. Now here is the going first side of the extra. Usually, you play this here because Solemn Judgment, we need this to protect our back row, and this is also like a Lightning Storm negate or a Cosmic negate because of just how oppressive it is. Of course, they had 2 Cosmic in their hand. I mean, they simply just want it more at that point. But this is for setups to, we summon this first on our turn, and then we attempt to summon a Skull Guardian on our opponent's turn to get the Omni out and the Spell and Trap out, and also just have this on the field as a way to protect our stuff until we get to that point. So then we have a Spell and an Omni and a Ceravis in rotation. And then Solemn is also just further blanket protection, and since we play Prosby, we can dig for it. So that's why you just run 2 and 1 a Pendulum Graph. Pendulum Graph is citable because in the main, it's not really good. You don't know what your opponent's playing, so it's 9 times out of 10 that you don't summon this card, and then it's just a brick. So we don't really want to do that. We just want to constantly concur resources and be as efficient as possible. This deck does have a problem with like Centurions, to where it's very very same end board. I feel like the deck strives with the same end board, but it's the non-engine you play inside of it that makes it better than others, and also just being very much like well managed in resources. And this deck can be like super good in the right pilot, but I feel like if you're playing like an even match between board breakers and hand traps, as well as engine and non-engine, you should be completely fine. That's all I really have to say about the deck. If anything, this is a tier 1 deck in a tier 0 format. It's super easy to pilot, but very hard to master. The combo is very, I guess you would say, somewhat linear, but it does have a huge amount of variance because we just have so many cards in the deck that do so many different things. It provides so many different lines. It's very non-linear. It's just the end board is linear, if that makes sense. You usually end on the same thing with not really playing into nib and just continuing on to destroy the format with a very competent deck. Also, highlight mention is the new Saphira monster. Basically allows us to be non-punishable by playing on our opponent's turn because we keep on drawing cards and discarding cards on our opponent's turn. I think with that amount of cards, we should have 6 in hand on our opponent's turn. If you play it right, you really should have like 4 cards in hand. I mean, of course, if you draw an Imperm, you're going to set it right, but you should have like 3 to 4 cards in hand on your opponent's turn, and then with the Saphira, that makes it into 5. So it's 5 or 6. So it's really good. But yeah, essentially, that was the deck list. I really like this deck. This is the deck I'm going to be maining for the rest of the year. And I believe in a day or two, I will also make a list for my Goblin Gold Pride Punk. So stay tuned for that. Have a good day, guys.